So what should we think about this COVID-19 that insurance companies keep calling acts of God? Well, if we do some serious Christian reflection about this, there are several problems with that whole approach to things. First of all, think about Jesus. He came to this world, and one of the main tasks of his earthly ministry was to get rid of disease, decay, and death. So it seems hardly likely that we should predicate of God something that Jesus came to correct. In fact, the truth of the matter is that God is not the author of disease, decay, and death. We are, through our ignorance, through our arrogance, through our carelessness, through our narcissism, all the way back to the story of Adam and Eve. In other words, these parts of the natural world are part of the fallen world. Disease, decay, and death is what God wishes to overcome. Indeed, we're told that when Jesus returns, the last enemy to be overcome is death. So we should be extremely wary of suggesting, well, God sent all of this to us as this kind of punishment or that kind of punishment or something else. If it was that, God doesn't have a very good aim, because it's killing Christians just as much as it's killing other people. It's killing good people just as much as it's killing bad people. I would think God's aim would be better than that. So that's one thing. But let's think of an Old Testament text just for a minute, if we can. Let's think of 1 Kings 19. When Elijah got to Mount Sinai, also known as Mount Horeb, according to 1 Kings 19, there was a mighty wind, there was a conflagration, there was an earthquake, and the repeated phrase in 1 Kings 19 is, but God was not in the fire. But God was not in the earthquake. But God was not in all the mayhem that was happening as a result of natural forces there. The only way you could discern God's will is from God's word, from listening to his still, small voice. In other words, you can't read the will of God from all kinds of natural disasters that happen in this world. They're part of the fact that we now live in a fallen world, a world of disease, decay, and death. And God, in fact, is the opposite of that. God is the author of life and resurrection and all good things. So, what should we be doing in this situation that we're now in as the pandemic gets worse and worse and ramping up? Well, first of all, we shouldn't give way to fear-based thinking. We should be cautious. There should be an abundance of caution so that we don't become carriers and spreaders of the disease and lead to other people's death through carelessness. Of course, that's true. But we, above all, should be people of faith and people of prayer, praying that the doctors and the nurses will be kept safe, praying that those who are most vulnerable will be the most protected, and praying that this soon will come to an end. We have an opportunity to live self-sacrificially in these times, as opposed to self-centeredly in these times. Example of self-centered behavior, hoarding toilet paper. How about that one? But there are lots of other examples as well, and those should all be ignored or abstained from by Christians. If you really want to know how we should properly be responding to COVID-19 as Christians, we should follow the lead of Jesus, who was the great physician who worked to counteract disease, decay, and death. And so should we.